Stay with Sport is next, and Andrew Johns' season could be over.
I tell you, this is a huge drama for Joey and for the Newcastle Knights. Ahead, the new evidence that could cost him a lengthy suspension. All the fallout shortly. Well, a major blow for Newcastle's premiership aspirations. Andrew Johns has been charged with contrary conduct for swearing at a touch judge. The Knights skipper faces a ban of up to 4 matches. His management already exploring legal avenues for an appeal. The club is also hit with a $5,000 fine for coach Michael Hagan's post-match support of Johns' tirade.
Andrew Johns emerging from a team video session fighting for his season. Johns accused of swearing at touch judge Matt Chechen after a crucial call went against the Knights.
Well after the event, well after the penalty.
Stay here, Andrew.
He's looked at me and said F and C.
Johns to be banned for 3 matches with an early guilty plea. With the Knights having a last round bye, that sidelines Johns for week 1 of the finals. The NRL today admitting the decision that caused the controversy was wrong. The match review committee decided on the heavy charge after seeing a new camera angle that shows Johns directing his comments at Chechen. Johns finding support from rivals.
I think you should be able to swear at the touchy if the decision's wrong, and then it's justified. Then if you look at the tape and you go, oh, hang on, that probably was all right. I think, well, then you should get in trouble. But if if it's a bad decision, you should be able to swear, I think.
Ken with Sport next, and Andrew Johns is in serious trouble.
He's facing a possible month-long suspension. High drama for the Knights, with Andrew Johns facing up to 4 weeks on the sideline for abusing a touch judge on Friday night. Coach Michael Hagan has already been fined $5,000 for backing his captain, while the referees' review panel has agreed with Johns that the officials got a crucial decision wrong.
This is the vision which could sink Andrew Johns and the Knights. The language is clearly adults only. The NRL doesn't like the example he's setting and have come down hard. And tonight, new vision of more mouthing off by Johns at a touch judge as the players were shaking hands. Johns was blowing up about a decision which was clearly wrong. Manly's Steve Matai played at this pass. Matthew Johns has strongly defended his brother.
A 3 to 4 week suspension for that is absolutely over the top. It basically rubs Andrew out for the rest of the season, and as we know, that greatly diminishes the Knights' chance of any impact in the finals.
And support today from Bulldogs forward Tony Grimaldi.
I think you should be able to swear at the touchy if the decision's wrong.
What an innings.
Welcome to the back page. I am Mike Gibson.
Been a crazy week.
We all agree again? It is good to be with you. Welcome to the back page and a breath of fresh air to begin the week. Billy Birmingham.
Mikey, you know what? I don't want any of your breaths of fresh air. You sound heavy with cold, but you've assembled a very handsome and informative young panel here, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Okay, I'll try not to spread my germs down the panel. Greg Martin, good to see you.
Token Queenslander, mark me off on the roll.
Plenty of opinions. Let's hope so.
All parochial and biased.
And on a big AFL night, we have a big AFL man. The Fish.
Good to see you, Gibbo. I don't think that was fresh air. I just saw Billy rolling to the left about 30 seconds ago.
Mikey, I got an emergency tissue here for you, Mikey.
Big news tonight, boys. One of rugby league superstars, Joey Johns, could miss 3 games, including the first week of the finals, after again being involved in a swearing controversy, his second in 4 weeks. The Newcastle Knights captain used his regular Sunday Telegraph column to declare he won't be apologising, and in fact claimed he's owed an apology by the touch judge. The blow-up happened during the Knights-Manly match Friday night with a crucial call by a touchy met with an out-of-control outburst from the Newcastle skipper. Let's have a look at just how it unfolded.
Played for Buderus. Buderus on for Johns. Pass has gone loose. Close to the sideline. Manly dive on it. Simpson says play on.
Thought it came off a Manly player.
Sea Eagles all on their feet on the bench and now Manly penalty.
Andrew, no.
Oh, the crowd on the eastern side of the field. They are blowing up deluxe. Andrew Johns is blowing up.
Pass it in. Well, I thought on the previous play, Manly were way offside when they rushed Johns.
Okay, Rest away. Rest is go away.
What for? Well after the event, well after the penalty.
Stay here, Andrew.
He's looked at me and said F and C. Straight at me.
Can you go upstairs and have a look at that one?
Right, you know what he said. We've got the penalty here.
But can you go upstairs and have a look?
No, we can't. Penalty's here.
We won't mention the words, but it's popularly known what he said. And, gee,
I wish he hadn't done it.
Whoa. Oh, the little bit he just in trouble with this 3-week charge is the smallest part of that. It was a wrong decision, and sure he had a spray.
Decision.
I think the linesman came on for no real... I reckon he's hard done by.
Well, the linesman's come on, and his whole report was...
Dobbed on
He said he looked straight at me and called me the F&C.
He's a mark, man. He stands to me at the moment, coming up from the south. This guy's out to get him.
Best player in the game.
Well,
he's not going to say out to get him.
He's not so much a marked man.
He's possibly, I would think, the most high-profile footballer in all codes at this stage in the country. He's had a problem with swearing a few weeks back. He's had a problem with not turning up for a presentation. He exacerbated his problem yesterday in the Sunday telly by saying, I'm not going to apologise.
I wish he hadn't done that.
Not smart.
I wish he hadn't. I mean, obviously...
What do you wish in the article?
I just wish that the final series, I think the final series is going to be poorer, especially for the Knights, not having Andrew around. I mean, if he pleads guilty, Mike, he gets 3 weeks, and the bye, which is in the middle of that, doesn't count.
What? Hold on. They get 2 points for the bye. That's their last game. Isn't that going to count?
You get 2 points for the bye, but the bye doesn't count as a game.
So he's going to miss the first week of the final.
First week of the final.
That's a brave call by the Rugby League, and I must say I congratulate him for the obvious reason. For the obvious reason. I mean,
you can't do that.
You're going to have kids running out calling touch judges. I mean, that's what happens. Whatever this bloke does, they do.
You can't do that.
No, but you can't.
Was it an exercise in futility? Just to help me out here. Were the referees ever going to change their call on this
They
situation?
never do.
No, they never
So
change.
it's the same as the AFL. So it is an exercise in futility.
Yes,
Well, exactly. Nut like that. But
And that's why, on behalf of all the Knights fans, I wish Andrew was going a bit more restrained.
I mean, you played for the White. What would you expect if you walked up to a touchy and said that?
Yeah, rugby's a lot different. You've got to kill somebody in rugby to get a week off. But, yeah, you shouldn't do it. Yeah, I do accept that. But it was the last minute of the game. It was a desperate situation. They could have won the game.
That's an interesting thing. We've had, generally speaking, we've had some pretty crummy refereeing this year.
Yeah, exactly. And on the weekend,
there's been some dodgy decisions.
Well, if you walked up to a touchy and used those 2 words in his face, what would you get?
Immediately a 50-metre penalty, so the opposition's brought closer to goal. It would be unlikely. It'd be unlikely to go any further.
That's right. You see, that's the thing. You've really got to kill the umpire and his family to have anything.
It's a spur of the moment thing, but there's too much time here. I mean, I know we want to move on, but he's got so much time to actually abuse the umpire. There's no fluence in the game. In our game, we tend to get on with the next play and move.
Well, he had to go at the ref, and then he saw he was getting nowhere and got so frustrated he had to go at the touchy.
Then he had to go at the touchy. Then the touchy comes in. That's why it sort of dragged off. But Mikey, the thing is that it seems that when these incidents occur, obviously, it heightens the inflammatory nature of the situation. I mean, there's some dodgy decisions all night. There was a decision down the other end where 2 Manly players were completely taken out of play when someone was trying to follow a kick through. And if it's 34 minutes in and you're behind by 2, you're cranky about it, but you get on with the game. What seems to put the focus on these things is the fact that they had one last chance at the Manly line.
I just believe he gave it. Look, there's a lot of dodgy decisions in all sports, Billy. He gave them no option. You can't condone a bloke doing that.
No, one last one. 3 weeks for that, though.
Yeah, that's over the top.
That's ridiculous. And we haven't touched on that yet.
Heavy.
1 week, fine. I've learnt my lesson. OK, I'll back off.
Same here. 1 week would have been fine.
They've used him as that sort of beacon for everything that's good about the game again. He's a victim of his own standing in the game, isn't he?
A bit like myself, really.
Yeah.
What they need is a ventriloquist on the wing from now on to the opposing team, just to pretend he's Andrew Johns.
This back's out from John Adler of Castle Hill. So Joey blows up at a terrible touch judge mistake. Let's look at the real problem, the actual mistake. Isn't this the type of incident the video ref should make a call on? That's a good point. This one from Mike. Do you think the officials are above reproach because they're in charge? These officials are a mockery and a disgrace. I say, good on you, Joe.
No, not so much good on you, Andrew Johns, but it's been pretty poor. Mikey, they tried 2 referees earlier on in the pre-season, I think, didn't they? I mean, if you've got 2 referees on there...
You can swear at both of them.
Haven't you got a 50% better chance of getting it right? You've still got a 3rd match referee, you've still got the sideline.
You've got a video ref up there. Well, isn't he talking to the ref all the time?
What I'm saying is that if we've had the 3rd match umpire, the 3rd match official, whatever they call him, and still can't get it right, then we've got to keep looking at ways of getting it right. And if that means another official on the paddock, I'm prepared to give that a go. Well, I agree with me on that.
This will be the subject of great debate all week, Billy, and we've debated it first.
Exactly.
Hello everybody and welcome to an hour of rugby league chat on NRL Scoreboard, and given everything that happened over the weekend, I have no idea how we're going to get through it all. With me tonight are Gary Freeman and Greg Alexander, and boys, in amongst all the controversy, the drama, the swearing, the abusing of officials, I think we actually might have got the top 8 sorted out. It's just the order they'll go into the finals to be worked out between now and round 26.
Yeah, well, with the Golden Point win by the Canberra side yesterday, I think that just about seals it. I'm not going to say it's done and dusted yet.
Sure.
Anything can happen.
The Panthers are alive?
Penrith are still alive mathematically, aren't they?
That's exactly
but, look,
right.
They've been beaten by Souths and the Roosters over the last couple of weeks, so you wouldn't like their chances of knocking off the Bulldogs and the Knights, but I'm not going to say never.
That's exactly right. Now, let's take a look at the points table, Wiz, and of course the Melbourne Storm still 3 games clear of the Bulldogs there. Manly in 3rd place. Parramatta, unbelievably, up into 4th position. Brisbane, the Knights, the Dragons and the Raiders make up the rest of the top 8. Now, of course, the Dragons, the Broncos and the still looking for another win to get themselves into a position where they've got 12 wins for 28 points, of course. Parramatta likewise. Now it's the Sharks, the Panthers, the Cowboys and the Warriors up into 12th position. Well, as you said, they're mathematically, it's possible that anything could happen, but you'd hate to be betting with it with anything other than monopoly money.
Yeah, I don't think the only thing that's going to change is what you said, Warren, is that the order of the top 8, where they actually ended up, like first and second, to me, fait accompli, they're all set. But I think the bottom sides are going to fight out for that, 8th, 7th, 6th and 5th position, and that's going to be the worrying part for some of those sides. I don't think the other sides have got to hope, mathematically or not mathematically. They haven't got to show at all. End of story. Panthers, gone. I'll say it. I don't matter. I'll say it.
Their form would suggest as much. Now, let's begin with a look back at Friday night's drama in Newcastle, a game that propelled Manly into 3rd position on the ladder and may have ended Andrew John's season at the same time. 16-14 at the death. So much to talk about out of this game.
Well, there is a lot to talk about. The main talking point really is the last part of the game where Andrew Johns did have a blow up with the touch. And this is the incident here with Steve Matai. Now, he plays with a lot of emotion. He loves winning, and we all know that. He's a rare breed of a halfback where he puts everything on the line and he knows himself when the pass was given here and Friday could have gone through that hole. He goes over the referee to discuss the situation, but then probably lets his emotions just get away with him a little bit too much with Matt checking and says a couple of things he shouldn't have said. But it was interesting to read in the paper, he said, I won't say I'm sorry. And I think he should.
Well, when you see that vision there, it pretty much tells you everything you need to know. An unbelievable article from Andrew yesterday in which he said I wasn't swearing at the touch judge. Well, that vision there, that angle there, disproves that theory straight away, you would imagine. I would imagine he's going to fight this. I mean, it's 3 weeks if he takes the early plea. It's a contrary conduct grade 3 charge. Now, if he fights it and loses, it's 4 weeks. You may as well take the punt and say, well, let's go down there and see how we go.
May as well be 4.
Yep.
And I think given what he wrote yesterday in the paper, he's almost got to back up his own words and go down there to fight it. I don't know how he can.
Well, watching that vision there, there's not much point in it. What will his argument be? And he can't say that I didn't direct it at Matt Checken or I didn't direct it at the referee.
The vision shows he did.
The vision shows he did.
He had a crack at him on the way off the field as well after the game.
I do think it's a pretty heavy penalty,
Yeah.
but I think 3 weeks is too much. I really do. And I think we should introduce, and the avenue there is there for the NRL, introduce a fine system.
I agree with you, Brandon.
We can't be doing it, and we can't be condoning it. And I think by fining him, we're not condoning it. Mm-hmm. We're fining him.
So wouldn't be a player suspended for a game for abusing an official?
Well, I think you have to look at the situation. I think maybe 1 week and a fine on top of the week, I think would be sufficient here. I think 3 weeks is too much, and I think it's all compounded about what he said in the paper, saying I'm not going to say sorry. And I think that's got the backup of a few people.
I don't think the match review committee would have looked at the paper, but in deciding the punishment.
No, I know that.
I think
there were plenty said from everyone.
Fair few people in the public offside by saying that, but the match review wouldn't have looked at that.
No, absolutely not. Now, I mean, the point is,
I'm not saying they did look at it. I'm just saying that if I was involved in rugby league, at some stage of the weekend, I would have looked at the papers to see what was written about the game and what happened, and gone, oh, that doesn't look very good. And I just think I agree with you, Brandy. Suspension 1 week and maybe a fine on top of it. Give it to the Children's Hospital. whatever the case may be. But I think he's such a great player. We don't need him sitting on the bench for 3 weeks. So I don't think it's worth 3 weeks.
But that's Andrew Johns' choice. He chose to use the words he used towards the touch judge to abuse him. So, I mean, it's not his fault, not our fault, that he might miss 3 weeks. Andrew Johns made that choice when he abused the official. And the problem is...
We've agreed on that.
What it gets down to is we have an increasing number of junior players playing the game. We have a stagnant or perhaps slightly decreasing number of officials who are officiating those games. And if you're a young bloke thinking about taking up refereeing, what happened on Friday night would probably convince you maybe I won't do it. Because I don't want to go to the park on Saturday morning and get abused by parents or 15-year-olds imitating what Andrew Johns did.
Yeah, I don't think 15-year-olds are doing that.
Relevant. They
are
absolutely. Relevant. They are. But I still think 3 weeks is too much.
Yeah.
And I think a fine system should be introduced. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't cop any sort of suspension. But
can I just say something?
Good enough.
Yeah.
1 week's long enough.
Can I just say one thing about the referees in the Parramatta comp? There's a rule there for the players that if they are caught swearing, running up to make a tackle or saying things to the opposition, they are pulled up straight away and then sometimes put into the sin bin, or if it gets that bad, they'll be sent off. But there's a massive rule there in the Parramatta junior comp that doesn't allow it. I believe it's probably in the Penrith comp at the same time, that it doesn't condone the players swearing at any stage of the game. And that goes from under 16s right through to under 6s, mate.
Well,
which is great.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And that's exactly as it should be in the juniors. And we're going to have... Well, we're not prudes. We're going to say players are going to swear.
They are.
As it's been said, it's a man's game. But you've also got to be able to accept disappointment when it comes your way and cop it on the chin every now and again.
You can swear
without abusing an official.
Can I say this? In the weekend, at the Bulldogs game, Willie Mason got done for 2 tackles where it was indicated that he dropped the ball and it wasn't his fault. And the penalty could have either gone the other way or the scrum, I believe. He got up, he didn't say anything, he just walked away. The difference is they're in front on the scoreboard. These guys had like 20-odd seconds to go in the game to try and win the game to secure the spot in the top 8.
OK, now the Knights have also been hit with a $5,000 breach notice for these comments made at the media conference by coach Michael Hagan.
I think he'd be entitled to swear any really, wouldn't you? Although I know we're not supposed to do that anymore. It's a game for men, I heard.
Yes, it is a game for men, but as we said, you've got to be able to cop disappointment equally as well as you can things that go your way. Now, speaking of things that go your way, the Knights might have got dudded, obviously, on that call at the end, and it should have been, there's no doubt, it should have been a knock-on against Steve Matai. We all agree on that, everybody agrees on that, but the officials aren't going to get everything right, as was the case in some of these plays, which go the way of the Newcastle Knights. Now, let's take a look at this one, where Manly, there's no doubt Manly in this particular play should have got a penalty, as Matt Aurthur puts a grubber through. Players are skittled left, right and centre, and the ball comes out, as it turns out. The Newcastle Knights dropped the ball out, but it should have been a penalty to Manly right on top of the line.
Well, there's no argument in that one either. And I think in reviewing the decision...
And Newcastle happily copped that decision without blowing up.
Well, of course you do.
Exactly.
That's the way,
the way
it goes,
That's exactly right.
They were quite happy at a press conference a few weeks ago when they scored a winning try off a forward pass.
Well... Funny you should mention that.
We got that too.
Let's take a look at this one from round 11. I know you weren't here at the production meeting, but here we are, round 11. Now, Kurt Gidley throws a ridiculous forward pass out to Brian Carney. The Knights are entitled to blow up. There was no way that was ever close to being backwards. And the Newcastle Knights on that occasion, once again, happily copped the decision going their way. So if you're going to take that, you've got to be able to take it the other way as well, Wiz.
Absolutely, mate. But look, I think we're going back to the one thing. Andrew Johns did something that he shouldn't have done. He's now got to go and face the judiciary and get over and done with. Look, you can go through every team in this competition and come up with plays where they shouldn't have scored a try and where they should have scored a try. It just goes around and around and roundabouts. That's what happens in rugby league. There's a decision that will go against you. There will be ones that won't, and you'll win the game. Look, it's just part of the game. Yes, I agree. Let's get on with it. Let's next subject, mate. We'll be here all night doing this.
It's a time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, let's get
pressure
on
the
pressure's on everybody.
Every 12 months there's a referee's in crisis. Every 12 months.
I don't think they are in crisis. I think they're doing a fantastic job, mate.
I mean, there's been some moments, obviously, and we'll talk about some of them in
there is some moments, but I've got to tell you, to me, the way that the things have gone over the last 6 or 7 weeks, mate, our referees are the best in the game. I don't care what anyone says. Best in any competition that we've got, with all the pressure that they're under. No problems that's coming from the Wizard.
Just keeps going round. We talk about it every year. No one's got a solution. Because why?
Don't bring out two referees,
No,
please.
no. Because we have humans who are referees and not robots.
Sporty's next, and Tim, they certainly need him. The Knights mounting their case to save Andrew Johns.
They are going all out, ahead of the key elements they'll be using to fight the swearing charge. We'll also tell you who's on the high-powered legal team assembled for Joey. Well, Andrew Johns has pleaded guilty to swearing at the touch judge, but will front the NRL Judiciary tomorrow night, seeking a downgrade to save his and possibly the Knights' season. If he's unsuccessful, Johns will receive the maximum 4-match ban, ruling him out until the second week of the finals.
As the Knights tried to get on without their skipper today, Johns was busy hiring former Judiciary Chairman Alan Sullivan QC, as well as a barrister to help earn a downgrade. Trying to win over 3 ex-footballers on the panel, Johns' camp already playing the passion card.
Because of the passion and the emotion attached to playing the game, and I think if you haven't really experienced that as a player, very difficult to understand that.
Johns' fate wouldn't be so serious if it wasn't for this minor hit on Roosters rookie Josh Lewis last weekend, with 93 carryover points adding to his ban. Not much sympathy or guilt from the man whose left hand inadvertently started the controversy.
Not really. No. He's the one who went off, so I'm not the one here. I'm not going to defend him or anything like. We'll take the rap for it.
Matai rejecting the views of Johns that he played at the football. The controversy dragging in Bulldogs veteran Tony Grimaldi, who's been forced to apologise for saying players should be allowed to swear at officials, claiming it was humour gone wrong. Steve Menzies providing some genuine comic relief as Manly officials abruptly ended further questions on Johns.
He's answered your questions. Let's get on to the next one. Any injuries in the camp from today?
No comment. Oh, no. Sorry, I was still thinking about it.
Ken, with sport next, and Andrew Johns' mouth has made his and the Knights' life a misery.
He's pleaded guilty but wants the charge downgraded. It's been another dramatic day for Andrew Johns, and we can reveal tonight that those close to him are worried the events of the past few days may cause him to quit the NRL and play in England next season. Today, Johns pleaded guilty to swearing at a touch judge, but the Knight will fight to have his penalty reduced at the Judiciary tomorrow night.
After we showed these news shots last night, Andrew Johns could no longer argue that his abuse was not directed at the touch judge. Now he's looking for a reduced sentence to help save the Knights from a likely quick exit from the premiership.
We believe the grading's too harsh and our thought process is to try and get it reduced.
But it's his potential quick exit from the Knights which is the real talking point. Those close to Johns have told me this incident could result in him packing his bags and going to England to play for Warrington. There's a strong belief that he's being made a scapegoat for poor refereeing decisions.
It'd be terribly sad if Andrew Johns felt the need to leave the NRL over this. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen.
The man who inadvertently caused the drama, Steve Matai, spoke today about the incident for the first time, backing the referee's decision.
I was actually going for the tackle, and unfortunately for us, I hit the ball, so I wasn't playing at it.
And he didn't have much sympathy for Johns.
Not really. He's the one who went off, so I'm not the one here. I'm not going to defend him or anything like. We'll take the rap for it.
And the Bulldogs' Tony Grimaldi has apologised for this comment supporting Johns yesterday.
I think you should be able to swear at the touchy if the decision's wrong.
Grimaldi said it was humour gone wrong. Manly's Steve Menzies couldn't believe the comment.
He said that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I'll be the one saying, yeah, no, that's a, I could condone that.
Danny Weidler, National 9 News.
Also, a former leading referee gives his surprising take on the Andrew Johns case. And the New Look Socceroos unwind ahead of tonight's Asian Cup qualifier. Well, Andrew Johns' case at the Judiciary will get underway shortly. League reporter Adam Hawes rejoins us. What's the best outcome tonight for Joey, mate?
Tim Johns is seeking no more than a 2-match ban for abusing touch judge Matt Chechen last weekend. To try and get that result, he'll issue a full apology to Chechen tonight, something he previously said he wouldn't be doing. He'll also say it was a heat-of-the-moment incident. Hopefully that will win some support from the 3 ex-footballers on the panel. If the panel do give him the downgrade, he'll be back in time for the finals, which to many is a fair result, including referees.
Tonight, new vision of more mouthing.
I just hope he plays the semi-finals. I think it'll be detrimental to the supporters and also everyone who loves the game of rugby league to see a player like Johnsy miss the semi-final series. He adds to the game, he adds to the spectacle.
To see him rubbed out the semi-finals would be a huge blow not only for him but the game and particularly his teammates. And you know, I suppose at the end of the day, you know, everything he's been through in the last couple of days, I think his penalty in itself and maybe a couple of weeks suspension would be more than enough.
Yeah, we'll know in a few hours.
Ken with sport next, and there are plenty of nervous Knights fans this evening.
Mark, but not as nervous as their captain. The hearing to decide Andrew Johns' punishment for swearing at a touch judge has been going on for about 20 minutes now. Let's return to Danny Weidler at NRL headquarters. And Danny, is there any more news?
Ken, no major developments at this stage. The meeting has been going on for around 20 minutes, as you said. I expect Andrew Johns to be very apologetic and get his plea and get his sentence to be downgraded, possibly now only out for 2 matches.
OK, Danny, thank you very much. At NRL headquarters, Danny Weidler.
And in the wake of the Johns case, league greats call for a new code of understanding between players and refs.
West Tigers catching up with West greats Peter Diamond and Aurthur Summons as the NRL celebrates 60s week. Summons saying the officials who copped Andrew Johns' blue language need a thicker skin, like top 60s referee Darcy Lawler.
Don't think I didn't give him a gobful, but I was on the field and he said, listen, do you want to stay here? I said, yeah, of course. He said, well, shut up and get on with the game or you'll finish in the dressing room. And that's what should have happened here.
Summons claiming referees need to remember who's boss.
Nowadays it was Summons or Diamond. Get back. They didn't muck about, so they had a lot of good qualities in the old days. But I think the familiarity today is not in the best interest of refereeing either.
I don't believe in people calling people nicknames, and I think it should be number 7 and number 6, and the referee should be called Sir. Simple as that.
Johns escaping the judiciary last night with a reduced 2-game ban. One coach saying there's no need to remind his players how to talk to referees.
They haven't learnt the lesson now. They're fairly thick.
Adam Hawes, 10 News.
And in the eye of the storm, Andrew Johns tells of his swearing turmoil.
I just think it's been blown out of proportion.
National 9 News with Mark Ferguson.
Andrew Johns has admitted he carried on like a goose when he swore at a touch judge last Friday. The league judiciary suspended him for just 2 matches last night, meaning he can play in the finals if Newcastle makes it.
After 5 days he'd rather forget, Andrew Johns finally let his hair down with his inner circle. If his grading had remained the same, Johns revealed he may have left the NRL for England, confirming a 9 News story on Tuesday night.
For the last couple of days, I felt like my head was going to cave in on occasions, but yeah, I suppose it's something that was talked about, but you know, I'm under contract with Newcastle.
Johns still can't believe the reaction to his swearing.
I just think it's been blown out of proportion, and look, I'm really sorry for my actions, and you know, I never condone doing this to an official, but for the coverage it's got, I think it's just crazy.
To help the situation, John said he'd like to see microphones removed from the field.
When things are said or things are done at the heat of the battle, which I think people on the sideline shouldn't hear.
Johns received a reduced sentence last night because he was so apologetic, and he wants to say sorry to touch judge Matt Chechen over a beer.
I'd like to meet him man to man and just say I'm sorry, mate, and that I carried on like a bit of a goose, and hope he shakes my hand and accepts that. I don't know if he's a beer drinker or a wine drinker. I'll have to ask him.
And tonight on the Footy Show, Andrew Johns, and after that it's an Andrew Johns free zone.
He's had a busy week, hasn't he?
He'll be happy about it too.
Boys, let's get serious and talk a bit of footy.
Andrew Johns' toughest moment. Now the world's greatest player tells his side of the drama. Live and exclusive to the Footy Show tonight, 9:30 on 9.
It's a big show. We can't start without these 3 crocodiles. Peter Sterling, Paul Harrigan, Matthew Johns.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, boys.
Well, mate, let me just say this, Coach.
What's
The
happening?
crowd's going on. It must be a big show.
The crowd's gone nuts.
It must be a big show because I've never seen you so pumped.
I'm pumped.
At the start of a show. And
This
your
is a
tie
big
looks
one.
great. You're rock and rolling the night, Fad.
Thanks,
Good.
What's
happening, mate?
It's been a massive week, hasn't it? Of course, all surrounding Andrew Johns. He'll be on very soon. But let's have a look at the incident again to start with, boys, and just some...
Yeah, just quickly, be
last
interesting
30
to see
seconds to go. He's gone off like a cracker.
what Joey's got to say when he comes on about this. It's been a tough week for so many people in rugby league, not just Andrew Johns, but certainly the hierarchy. And I think in the end that we've got the right result, but we'll talk through that a little bit when Joey comes out.
Everyone's got an opinion on that one, and it's going to be great because we've got Joey here himself, and we'll go through it all, so it's going to be fantastic a little bit later on.
All right, boys. Well, of course, the man who's been on the news all week, paper headlines, radio and TV, is about to join us right now. Please welcome Andrew Johns.
All right.
Hey, what a week. Can you stay out of the headlines? Can you do something and stop swearing at people?
I know. I've been naughty.
Well, you were. I mean, it was pretty crook. I mean, you did give it to Matt Chechen, and I noticed on Sunday in the paper you give it to him again and said, I'm not apologising, but it's all worked out for the best. Your sentence has been reviewed and cut down to 2 weeks. You've had a long time to think about it. What do you say now?
Yeah, look, I wrote my column, and that was straight after the game, and I was still pretty fired up about what happened, and looking at the tape, it done me no favours, and I suppose that my standing in the game, I influenced a lot of people, and looking at the tape, I carried on like a bit of a goose, and you be quiet. I was going to tell him to go, but I apologise to Matt Chechen. It won't happen again.
Any time or any place did you ever say that if this didn't work out, I guess in a satisfactory way, that you might leave the NRL and possibly head to England?
No.
Your manager wrote a column implying that might be the case. What did you make of that?
Well, I didn't read the paper. I haven't read a paper all week because I think if I did, my head would have caved in. But
you know that he wrote the column. You know what he said.
I didn't know. I heard secondhand what he said, but no, I didn't have any input to that at all.
Okay. Mate, do you think the end result of 2 weeks suspension was still harsh, or do you think it was fair?
I didn't know at the time, Chief. I suppose the precedent's been set now. I don't think there's been no suspension for swearing at an official.
This will be the first, yeah.
Yeah, well, you just want consistency now. If someone does it again over the semis or the next couple of years, then hopefully they'll get the same ban as I did.
Joey, I've seen this from you many times, play Monopoly, Trivial Pursuit, things like that. But honestly, when you go off, there's two Andrew Johnses, right? You're just an immense competitor. Was it a haze for you? Do you remember it all clearly, or was it just rage?
No, it's just a blur to me. I can sit here and come up with so many excuses about being under pressure and a big game for the Knights and want to finish the top four, but there's no excuse for what's happened. As you said, there's two people. I think there's myself, Andrew Johns, and then there's Joey Johns who plays football. And some things Joey Johns does on the football, I think he carries on like a bit of a goose too sometimes. But what's on the field should stay on the field.
We're not putting up a sob story here, but you are the most competitive bloke that I've ever played with the scene, and it does spill over. I've heard people say, it's not an excuse about passion. Yeah, but it does, and it's a part of you. At the end of the day, Joe, there's been a lot of stuff in respects to, as far as kids are concerned and role models, and we can't be shot at. And I know the league are trying to make sure that doesn't happen, and we're all about that. No one condones that. But at the end of the day, it seems to me that the league were most upset with that article in the newspaper, a defiant Joey Johns, and somehow they had to show you a lesson that's not the way to go. Do you feel, if you had anything over again, that it would be that report, that newspaper report?
Yeah, I suppose so. I did it at the heat of the moment. I come off the field and I was bitterly disappointed about the game and also the incident. I had my time again and I'd do it different, but can't do that now, can you?
How'd that go last night in the judiciary? You're obviously very contrite in front of the people who are looking at you and looking to maybe downgrade your charge. How did it all go for you?
Yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I got a fair hearing. I haven't been to judiciary for a couple of years now. You know, it's not a pleasant experience. It's pretty nerve-wracking when you're in there, but you know, it's a bit of a media circus, as everyone can see, over the past week. But I was just glad that they come to the decision, and I get an opportunity to play in the semis because I feel like the people who've been, let down the most of my teammates.
Joe, do you feel sometimes, it's a hard one, but do you feel sometimes that you can't win? Because I remember the middle of the season when you were struggling personally, the side was struggling, and you were criticised of playing with not enough passion, with your head down a little bit.
It's just a fine line, Matty, and there's no excuse for what I did. You can't be swearing at officials. We need officials in our game. And, I've just got to learn from this. I can be still passionate and get out there and play with so much passion, but, just not going over the top. And I'll learn from this, and I hope other players learn from it of all ages, young age and older players.
Old bloodies.
We weren't surprised that the NRL needed to make some kind of statement here, and we caught up with the CEO, David Gallop, to asked him what he felt the final outcome was, whether he was happy with that.
Yeah, I'm entirely comfortable with our judiciary process and the result. Andrew obviously had time to properly prepare his defence. He's given credit for a clear apology, and we're comfortable with what happened. It wasn't a case about mere swearing on the football field. It was a clear case of abuse of an official. Now, we've got a responsibility within our own competition. We've got a responsibility to junior rugby league and junior sport, and we've got a responsibility to the general community to promote respect for authority.
Well, there you go. Pretty interesting comments from the NRL. Of course, the fans boys have had their own mind made up what they think, and we went to the city today and caught up with a few of some rugby league fans and see what they think.
So what have you thought of the whole Andrew Johns affair?
2 weeks is probably about right, yeah. You can't be a protected species just because he's the best player in the game, so it's probably about right.
I think it's a bit of a beat-up. He was under pressure at the time and he blew up. That's fair enough. But he's apologised, and I think he's done the right thing. He's learned his lesson at the tail end of his career, and good luck to him.
If the NRL is going to cop, referees that I believe that are useless in situations that need, you just got to be on your ball as a referee,
I honestly don't think what he did deserved the initial judgment at all. Yeah, so good on him.
I mean, the poor guy can't play half the time because he's injured, and then when he gets back on the field, he's banned for however many games he's banned for. Ridiculous.
When things happen on the field, it happens. It should stay on the field. Unfortunately, with the game these days, it's all about cameras, and you can hear everything they say, which is a downfall, I think, for rugby league.
I think if he did swear at him, then, suffer the consequences.
I think he was in the right. That was forward pass. And not a forward pass, that was, tapped on forward. Had every right to do it.
But did he overreact a bit with the swearing?
No, mate. Touch referees sometimes they do need, a slap in the arse.
There you go. Absolute bit of everything. Joey, this year on the field, for whatever reasons, whether it's the technology and the microphone, is it more difficult to be a player on the field these days than it was a couple of years ago even?
Well, I think we're under more scrutiny because the microphones are there and there's so many different angles, and I think the public thrives on it. They love it. During a game, if I'm going up to talk to a referee, I'm not thinking in my mind, they're microphoned up, someone's going to hear it. It's the last thing you think of, and it's the last thing you should be thinking of. I think it's adding pressure to the referees that this technology is there. And, speaking about the performance, it's a shame we're talking about the referees' performances when we should be talking about, the great football game.
I think it's a good point about the when you talk about the referees and the microphones, like I was going to say the old days, but in the recent past before microphones, there was generally banter between the players and the referees. And I think they're reluctant to do that now because of the microphones.
Yeah, but this is going to be every sporting coverage now, not just rugby league. You're saying that you're not thinking microphones, but in the back of your mind, you've got to know that they are around.
Well, I will now, yeah. Definitely.
Well, everybody's got to know because it's going to get more that. Our first responsibility as a sport is to entertain our fans, look after our fans. They pay everybody's wages by going and watching television. There wouldn't be television rights if they weren't. So, it's the nature of the beast now, microphones. We can't blame those at all because they're part of the landscape.
I think occasionally, that's right, Pete, I think it makes for a better broadcast. I think that sometimes, though, if we're watching a broadcast and the odd F comes out, then sometimes we've got to be, although the players are aware of it, in the heat of battle, it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's part of that warts and all coverage, without a doubt.
Fatty, I know you're going to throw to Robert Finch very shortly, but just before you do that, a few people have been critical about your apology taking 5 days to come out. Why is that?
My legal team told me not to contact Matt Chechen or Paul Simpson, so that's pretty much why I didn't do it.
Okay, sweet.
Well, look, it's been a difficult time for the referees. It's been a tough season for them. We went to Robert Finch, the boss of the referees, and asked him whether he thought that his men had been made scapegoats.
Well, they're easy to blame, I suppose, and have been since 1908. Decisions that referees make are under the microscope. Decisions that players make, whether they run the footy or pass it or kick it or take a kick at goal or whatever that they are given through that period of the game, aren't under the scrutiny that the referees' decisions are.
Does the criticism make you mad? Does it make you angry? Because there's not much you can do. You never get bouquets, do you, for your job?
I get a little bit disappointed, especially for the blokes in the office who are now full time. They train extremely hard. They put a lot of time and effort into doing what they do. They receive no accolades at all at any time. I suppose they know that when they take the job on, and without them, there's no game anyway. But I feel sorry for them. I get a little bit down occasionally too. But look, we've got another weekend round in front of us, so we've got to get on with it and move forward.
Yeah, very difficult job for the referees. But I think there are some rules in our game that make it harder for them. And I think one of the things that this highlighted, this incident, was actually we need a change of rule to the knock-on. How can a referee delve into the mind of a player to know whether he intentionally played at a football?
Yeah.
It's impossible and it's unfair. I would rather see a knock-on these days be any propelling of the football forward above the knees, off any part of the body, head, nose, whatever, is a knock-on, and then all of a sudden, it's easy for everybody.
If it's come off you, whether you played it or not, if it's come off the hands...
Forget intentional, forget accidental.
Get a new rule
At
out.
the moment, there's far too many interpretations.
Yeah. Okay, just
No
bottom
doubt.
line, Joey, to finish it off with, mate, do you regret it?
Oh, definitely. It's been I can't believe how much coverage it's got. We should be talking about the great football on the field, but instead we're talking about this. So, yeah, wish you didn't have it.
Well, we've got one more surprise for you, Joe. Of course, you've apologised to Matt Chechen, which is very nice. Yeah, we're actually crossing now to Matt Chechen's place because he's got something that he wants to say to you. Joey, here's Matt.
G'day, guys. It's an understatement to say it's been a really difficult week. I can't turn on a television or pick up a newspaper without seeing my face or reading my name. It's been just an absolute living hell.
Oh my God, it's Matty Chechen, guys, it's Matty Chechen.
No, please, ladies, give me 15 minutes. I'm all worn out. It's been hell. Joey, I know you're in the studio. Thank you very much for the letter. It means a lot. I think we both learned a lot. I mean, we're superstars to kids out there. We're their heroes. Kids want to grow up and we're the 7 for Australia. Well, they want to hold the flag, running the sideline, a big game. Whoa, baby. That's giving me goosebumps, Joey. Oh, let's catch up for a drink, Joey. And yes, all's forgiven. Oh, and by the way, Joey, before I go, enjoy your 2 weeks on the sideline. You
Serious issues.
Both John's voices.
He's an angry man, Matt Chechen.
Matt Chechen's got massive
The
problems.
Empire strikes back.
Now listen, Brian Carney, we're still looking for a date for him, aren't we?
It's gone. It's gone. We're going to preview it
we might
next
get
week.
Week, we'll get to that later,
I've
maybe
actually
next week.
I've actually promised Brian while I've been out, I'm going to help look through.
What you're going to?
Well, the 2 weeks, the club said you've got to spend it productively. I said, well, I'm going to go out there and try to help Brian find a girlfriend.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, sweet.
He gets him.
There it is there.
Is,
Send your DVD to win a date with Brian Carney. Box 27 Willoughby, New South Wales.
Alrighty. Now, Joey, you've had a tough week, mate. You've had a
please.
tough week. I want
Help
you
me.
to sit down and relax and enjoy this because we've got one of our all-time favourites here at the Footy Show. We're proud to say that we discovered this guy and he does head up our Footy Show Comedians DVD, which is ready to go for Father's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, he's famous all around the world. Make him welcome Carl Barron. All right.
Yeah, so how you going? You see that weird guy at the front walking around? I don't know, maybe he's here, I don't know. He's kind of walking like that? like his fork was moving faster than the rest of his body. His bum was trying to catch up to the front part of his... Then I realised I was looking at my own reflection. When I was a kid, I was very young. And I didn't have many friends at school. I had an imaginary friend, and he had a real one. There was this girl in grade 3. She was Chinese. She probably still is, actually. She sat near this guy that I don't know what I used to call him the sick kid. He's always coughing and scratching, and things were always flying off his head. He had that big raspy honking. It looked like a cat coughing up a foot. You could hear him coming 2 kilometres away. Friggin' hell was that? I had to sit next to that dickhead. He's a karate expert. You couldn't put shit on him. He's like, yeah. He used to practice, you know, at lunchtime by himself, and no one would go near him, not because he's karate, because he's coughing. Didn't look real cool when he coughed in between his manoeuvres. He's like, Bit of wee coming out, is it? John Callahan was his name. That's his proper name. I should think of a funky name, but I can't be bothered. And he could be sitting out here tonight. I haven't seen him since grade 4. Sitting there going, hey, my name's John Callahan. Waiting for me in the car park, you know. Oh, I won't recognise him, you know. Remember me, Carl? I go, nah. He's going, You've still got that coffee, dickhead. So I studied at school, and I studied hard for 10 years, concentrated, not very well. Teachers say, think, as if you could just go, 16 times 12, Carl. What is it? So I don't know. She didn't even try. I said, I know what my brain's like, I won't do it. I studied for 10 years to go to university. I left and become a roof tiler. Could have went to school for 10 minutes to do that. One of the last jobs, I'm just waiting for the wind-up from Tony, but he hasn't given me one. I feel rejected. Can you give me one, Tony? Oh, it's new. It's not that anymore. You know when they want the towel? Oh. You know when they want the towel on the tennis, they just go... Mum, where's the towel? I love the bit of the towel. We'll go, you want the towel? There you go. Anyway. That's a shit bit, that. Now, one of the last jobs I had before I did this, I was a roof tiler, and I worked at a mental hospital. Not as a doctor, just a roof tiler. Now, it's a true story, I'm not joking. I mean, you think everything's a joke, don't you? And I was fixing this roof one day, and I was mixing up the cement, and this bloke just walked up behind me and went, hey, yeah. And I sort of looked over, and I tried to act as casual as I could, talking to a bloke with one shoe. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm fixing the roof. And he goes, well, you're smart. And I said, why? He goes, well, you're doing it from down here. Thanks a lot.
If you want to catch up these dates, he's in Queensland in November for the first time in 4 years. There is the Empire Theatre, Nambour Civic Centre. On the 17th, he's at the Gladstone Entertainment Centre. He's at Cairns, Townsville, Gold Coast, Matai. You can check it out there on the website. He's one of the greats. How good is this guy? Ladies and gentlemen, Carl Barron. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Carl. Excellent work tonight. As we go to our first break, first up we want to say goodbye to Joey Johns. Thank you, Joey, for your time tonight.
What time is it? Let's get into it. It's time for That's Gold. Come on. slapping from the old days. All right, let's get into it. This could be the biggest Ats goal sign I've ever seen last Friday night at the Knights game. Look at that, it's huge. The security guard thought it was a little bit too big, so he went to get it away. Come on, mate, hang on, he saw the camera. Pull it back, good man.
Good work,
And knock around the goal, it's all powerful.
Welcome back to the Footy Show. Vossi here, coming to you from Luna Park in Sydney tonight, where we are celebrating the National Rugby League 60s week, and they've got a function going on inside that is an autograph hunter's delight. Lots of great names there. In previous years, we've had the team of the 90s, the team of the 80s, the team of the 70s. Tonight, they have announced the team of the 60s. Have a look at the lineup. How good's this? Les Johns at fullback, the late Ken Irvine on the wing, the greatest try scorer in the history of our game. Names like Gaznia, Langlands. What about the forward pack? Johnny Raper, Arthur Beetson is there, so too Noel Kelly. It is fantastic that we can honour these great rugby league men. Now, what of the other news this week? Contrary to what you may have heard or thought, there was actually some rugby league played last weekend besides the last 60 seconds in Newcastle. Now, everyone's had their say on the Johns case, and I'll have more to say on the roast on Sunday, but I want to make a couple of points. First of all, and I'll say it slowly, Andrew Johns was in the wrong. No excuses. Second point, there have been 24 other players this year penalised during a game for dissent. Some have been sin-binned, penalties for backchat, but not once has one of those players been cited by the match review committee. And I, like a lot of fans, now want to know, well, why not? Why was Andrew Johns the first player to be singled out? Amid a game of confusion, the reason the Knights came to be down the Manly end of the field was on the back of this penalty. Why did the video ref advise that Brent Kite should be put on report? It looked spectacular, but his swinging arm missed. Perry's head hit Kite's chest. It's all clear for mine. Just because a player stays down hurt doesn't mean it has to be a penalty.
Excellent work, the Vipers. Now, we're going to get through this because it's... Oh, look at the time. Cowboys taking on the Knights up there. And I've tipped the Cowboys. Obviously, you know, Andrew Johns a bit tougher for the Newcastle side to win. But the Cowboys, you know, they're not dead. They've got to turn their season around. 3 games to do that. And I think up there at home that they can beat the Knights. It'll be a tough one.
From Dairy Farmers Stadium in Townsville, it's the North Queensland Cowboys versus the Newcastle Knights.
So much has happened to these two teams since the last time they met in round 6. Then they were atop of the table. Now the Newcastle Knights season is still alive, while for the Cowboys their season definitely hangs by a thread. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dairy Farmers Stadium in Townsville for this round 24 clash between the North Queensland Cowboys and the Newcastle Knights. And joining me in commentary, Scott Sattler. And Scott, differing motivations for the two sides tonight.
Yeah, there is, Mark. The North Queensland Cowboys have got a chance tonight to prove to the rugby league fraternity that they can still play the attacking brand of football we fell in love with last year going through the grand final. The Knights, on the other hand, they've got a big opportunity to prove they can win a crucial match without Andrew Johns, and that's a big test here tonight.
They haven't done so for nearly 2 years, but one player who'll play a key role for them tonight, he's back from injury, and of course I speak of Milton Thaiday, who'll wear the number 1 jumper tonight for the Newcastle Knights.
Well, the Newcastle Knights have been looking for a person that will fill that number 1 jersey since Robbie O'Davis has retired, and Milton Thaiday's filled that position so amicably this year. Yeah, he's a person that has the uncanny knack of turning something out of nothing, and we see these returns here against the Roosters a couple of weeks back were a real highlight of the North Queensland, the Newcastle game, and Milton Thaiday.
He certainly is a player that the Newcastle Knights will be looking at tonight to add some potency to their attack as we head downstairs for the first time this evening to catch up with our fellow commentator Gary Freeman. He's with the Knights coach Michael Hagan.
Well, Michael, there's a good opportunity here for a couple of young guys in 6 and 7 to really step up to the plate and play well for you. Mullen coming into the halfback spot.
Yeah, Jarrod's a great player, and I think has played 10 or 11 games for us at different times this year. I guess a bit more pressure on him to start the game at 7, and he and Kurt Gidley need to do a good job for us tonight.
And there's also a big opportunity with another 2 wins in the bye in the last round to secure really a home spot for a semi-final.
Yeah, I guess there's a fair bit to play for tonight for both teams. I mean, we're coming here with a point to prove with our footy team minus Andrew Johns, and I think players are pretty determined to put a good performance on the park. We're in pretty good form, and players are going well.
Michael Hagan there, of course. As we look at the Newcastle Knights lineup, there is no Andrew Johns. Jarrod Mullen will start the game in jumper number 7. Plenty of pressure on him tonight. Steve Simpson is the captain in the absence of Andrew Johns. Danny Buderus being given a rest from that onus responsibility tonight. There's one change on the interchange bench. Todd Lowry is out. Daniel Abraham will start the game in jumper number 18. Of course, they're coached by Michael Hagan. Time to head back downstairs again tonight to catch up with the two captains and our referee, Sean Hampstead, for the toss.
You call, Stu? Heads. Yeah, it's a toll. What are you going to do? Mate, we'll kick off. All right, which way you want to go? Go away. Go, fellas.
Well, Steve, big honour for yourself, the captain of the side once again.
Yeah, great. It's a great privilege and looking forward to it.
And what about the game here tonight? The forwards, they really have to step up if you want to get over the Cowboys pack.
Yeah, that's where it's won and lost, I think. So we've got a big job in our hands. The boys up here are desperate, but I suppose so are we at the same state.
All right then, Steve, all the best for tonight.
Cheers, Wiz. Thanks.
First win without Andrew Johns since round 26, 2004. 10 straight losses. And they've done enough tonight to get the 2 points. They've got the Panthers next week, then the bye. They can start getting ready for a tilt of the premiership now on Newcastle.
And then they get Andrew Johns back too, so that's a big plus for the Newcastle side, and they can defend like this and attack like this. They got a big chance in this competition in 2006.
Full time at Dairy Farmers Stadium, Newcastle 19 have defeated the Cowboys 12. They led 10 points to 6 at half time. It was a real battle, but in the end, the Knights were the better side.
They certainly were the better side. They controlled the football a lot better. They had started off a little bit slow where they were dropping the ball all the time, but they certainly got into their groove in the second half. That man on screen, he was just outstanding. 44 tackles, just led by example. Even though he wasn't the captain here tonight, and Aaron Payne will be a little bit disappointed. 2 drop balls in his game, but other than that, he worked tirelessly around that ruck area. But I think everyone here today, the men that took the field here, was Newcastle and the Cowboys, all put their hands up for a tremendous game of football.
It was a physical game tonight, no doubt about that. The Cowboys will be disappointed, but they gave their all tonight. And let's head downstairs. Scott Sattler has a young man who'll be very happy and very relieved, Jarrod Mullen.
Well, Jarrod, a lot of pressure on this week, obviously in the number 7 jersey, but it looks like you really enjoyed the challenge.
Yeah, it was a great challenge. I mean, Hags gave me the opportunity, first week back in a couple of weeks, and gave me the opportunity to sort of run the team around, and I thought me and Kurt did a pretty good job of that.
At half-time, what was Michael Hagan's basic instructions?
Probably just to get forward and a bit of leg speed. The forwards weren't, getting a bit of leg speed going, but in the second half, they really picked it up, and it's credit to the boys.
Congratulations on the win. Good luck with the rest of the season, mate.
Thanks, Sats.
Well, Clint, saw the excitement on your face at full time. It's a big win. Round 26, 2004, since the last time you won without Andrew Johns. It's a big win, isn't it, coming up here?
Oh, it's fantastic. The Cowboys, even though everyone writes them off, they're a good team. They've got plenty of quality players, and they were fighting for their season. Fantastic effort by our boys to come up here and travel away and do it without Joey, so bring on the Panthers.
Yeah, not to touch on Joey too much, but it's fair to say, isn't it, that the team's worked up pretty good resilience even without him now?
Oh, as we said through the week, that we've got enough quality players and enough leaders in our team to get this one home, and it's just a tremendous effort to Jarrod Mullen and Kurt Gidley, who have stepped in to the halves role and handled it with ease, and it's fantastic to have them available for the semi-finals.
Congratulations on your own game, and good luck through the semis, mate.
Thanks, Scotty.
The Knights staying on the field here at Dairy Farmers Stadium, and it's been a very good win for them without Johns. Anthony Quinn was great. He scored himself a couple of tries in his 100th first-grade game. Jarrod Mullen was involved in everything tonight, kicked the field goal that got them home. Anthony Quinn, who'll be heading to Melbourne next year.
He was good, the halfback, wasn't he? Just led by example, taking the line on when he had to. He ran the ball. He didn't have to try and do too much. He just had to try and guide the team around. This was here that had an extra point to put them 7 in front. His teammates very happy that he was very calm and picked the right time to put that field goal in.
So there's the score summary for this game. Quinn a double, Mullen tries, Abraham 3 from 4, and Mullen kicked the field goal. And North Queensland, Sweeney and Smith tries. Sweeney 1 from 1, McConnell 1 from 1. Half time it was 10-6 to Newcastle full time. It was 19-12 to Newcastle. The season is over for the North Queensland Cowboys. Plenty of Newcastle fans here tonight, and the players are going over to thank the support they've received from the Newcastle supporters, and they'll be happy. The long trip home will be well celebrated, you can imagine, for the Newcastle Knights supporter. A couple of big games tomorrow. NRL Sunday, round 24. The Roosters up against the rampaging Eels from Aussie Stadium. The pre-game at 2, the kick-off at 2:30. That on Fox Sports 1. Super Saturday continues. We head from the most extreme northern team in the competition to the most extreme southern team down to Melbourne. The Storm take on the Warriors at Olympic Park on Fox Sports 1. That coming up next. Big win for the Newcastle Knights. They've defeated the Cowboys 19 points to 12 on behalf of Gary Freeman. And for the last time, Scott Sadler, I'm Mark Braybrook. It's goodbye from Dairy Farmers Stadium.
And we'll remember a week in league that poor old Joey would probably rather forget.
Disappointed what happened on the weekend. I wish it didn't happen. I'm so remorseful what's happened. I wish I hadn't done it.
What a contrast for rugby league players this week. Some were on the catwalk at the exact same time. The best of the lot of them walked the gangplank to the Judicary. We start with the pretty boys who strutted around at the Maya fashion launch along with the forward pack of the Bondi budgie smugglers. Former Newcastle cheerleader Jennifer Hawkins was also there, but no Knights players.
What is that? Where are the Knights? Come on.
One of them's got a date up the road.
Yeah, I know. Don't try and get me on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, Andrew Johns, he was just 200 yards up the road trying to get a 3-match ban for blowing up at a touch judge downgraded. Opinions came from everywhere.
Referees have got to control the game, and we don't want a situation where referees feel intimidated.
I think you should be able to swear at the touchy if the decision's wrong.
Tony Grimaldi would apologise as all player musings on the case dried up.
They make Joey a bit of a scapegoat.
Boys, we said he's not going to answer it, so he's not going to answer it. So don't keep throwing it at him. Okay? Good call.
But wasn't this going a bit far?
Any injuries in the camp from today?
No comment. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about it.
In the end, John said no contest, apologised and got 2 weeks instead of 3.
My standing in the game has been a big talking point. I'm so remorseful what's happened. I wish I hadn't done it.
And now he's free to play in the finals. If his Knights make it, we're free to move on, while all players now know no more potty mouth in front of the officials.
So I think if they haven't learnt the lesson now, they're fairly fixed.
And no doubt Joey is looking forward to putting that week in league behind him. There is good and bad news for his Knights overnight, though. They took the points against the Cowboys, but hooker Danny Buderus is on report for a high tackle.
Jarrod Mullen ran out in the number 7 jersey, carrying great expectations on his shoulders. Could he lead the Knights to victory without Andrew Johns? After several knock-ons from both sides, the Cowboys found an unmarked Neil Sweeney on the wing.
He cut out 3, Brent McConnell, and has opened the scoring for the Cowboys.
The Knights got their first real attacking opportunity after McConnell kicked out on the full. But stand-in captain Steve Simpson couldn't hang on to the ball.
Now Simpson's lost it.
Off the back of a penalty, the Knights sent the ball wide, Quinn going over in the corner in his 100th first-grade game.
Long ball, Quinn for the corner, must score, and he just gets it down inside the dead ball line.
Just 1 minute before half-time, Quinn bagged himself a double, taking the Knights ahead 10-6.
He should have too much pace for Justin Smith. He does on the inside, Quinn. They're going to score right on half-time here, the Newcastle Knights.
Buderus went a fraction high on Matt Bowen, forcing Sean Hamstead to put him on report.
Danny, you've hit him high. He's going to report. Buderus had a look at it.
Soon after, the Cowboys were in the spotlight for lifting Quinn into a dangerous position.
Everyone bar. Oh, that's in trouble.
Mullen confirmed he was worthy of the number 7 jersey when he cut through some would-be Cowboy defenders.
This could be the season for the Cowboys. as Jarrod Mullen gets between Jacob Lillyman and Justin Smith to score.
Sweeney hobbled from the field, but his team persevered, eventually breaking the line.
Here's Smith. Smith goes to the line, he's over. Can he get it down? Justin Smith.
The Cowboys were back within striking distance, down 18-12.
Justin Smith, his first of the year.
With time running out, the home side came up with a costly error, allowing the Knights to travel to the other end and slot a field goal, sealing victory for the visitors.
Strike set. He's kicked it, and that is the game.
In the dying seconds, Carl Webb appeared to score what would be a consolation try.
Sido, Carl Webber's over. Did he lose it? He may have lost it though. No try. 20-minute restart.
For the Knights, the monkey was finally off their backs. This victory proving they can win without Andrew Johns.
Very good, solid win there to the Newcastle Knights, and the best player that I saw in the night was Steve Simpson. He was outstanding, just kept charging in, taking it up. He had the captain responsibilities last night. He played very, very well. Solid win to the Knights. But look, the Cowboys are without Jonathan Thurston, Ty Williams, Paul Bowman, Josh Henne, Brenton Bowen. There's 1,000 blokes missing. It was a good performance by them.
But the Knights didn't have Andrew Johns, so that's a terrific win.
Well, it makes
for
it
them.
even better.
And
for the Knights.
Jarrod Mullen filled in extremely well.
Mullen.
Apparently, he had 18 needles throughout the game and before the game to get him through it. He had to come off at one stage, so he just showed a lot of courage and a lot of leadership. You see him here. I mean, he sets up a try beautifully, and I just thought he really came of age in this game. You know, he hasn't lifted like that before.
I think he's come of age before this,
right?
And I think he's come of age because you can see the confidence that Andrew Johns has playing in the same team with him, the fact that he gives him so much responsibility.
Exactly.
The poise and the relaxed way that this young man, who was a schoolboy last year, plays with is wonderful first year in the top grade.
Jarrod Mullen's 19. He did have to go off and get more attention to that sternum during the game, and when he did go off, he was greatly missed.
Yeah.
So this is a 19-year-old guy who's basically steering this side around the park, whose kicking game is so important. And the other thing about Andrew Johns not playing is that Danny Buderus then kicks out a dummy half, which makes him even more dangerous. And I think that's a positive for the Knights.
If I was a Newcastle fan, I would get great satisfaction in knowing that when Andrew Johns leaves up there, which, would leave an enormous hole, that someone like Jarrod Mullen has come on the scene and looks ready-made to step into that at such a young age, to be so comfortable in the role. Yeah.
Boys, Danny Buderus has declared that he's not going to be playing in the Tri-Nations at the end of the year. Is it obvious solutions? Cameron Smith, is there any other contender for the position, do you think?
Well, there might be some contenders, but not as good as Cameron Smith. He is the complete rugby league player.
I think Robbie Farah and Luke Prittis, but they're going to suffer because their teams aren't going to be in the
Cameron
semi-final.
Smith's he'll be the Australian hooker if Buderus isn't available. Kicks goals as well. So a great win there to the Newcastle Knights. That leaves them firmly entrenched now in the top 8. They will be there. The Cowboys, they're millions. They've won 3 of their last actual 16 games, and that is a dead set slump.
Welcome to the Sunday Rush. Jeez, there's just papers everywhere. Everyone's fired up. This could be our biggest show of the year, no doubt. There has been so much happening in the world of rugby league, not just on the field, but off the field this week. All the fallout from the Joey Johns situation, the hearing. We've had the rather interesting handling in the media this week of the story relating to Tim Smith and Eric Groth and the Parramatta Club. We're going to talk about that. Gordon Tallis, is he fit to be on the National Rugby League board? We'll discuss that later today. And the team are all here because there's plenty of stuff here. MG, Matthew Johns, Phil Gould. Another story which has emerged today. We learned that Danny Buderus is saying he'll sit out the Tri-Nations because his partner is due to give birth the first week of November. MG, your reaction to that?
Yeah, I find it quite bizarre, I suppose, to knock back a green and gold jersey. But I suppose when you do have a child, you change a lot. And with the imminent arrival of a baby, I suppose he's changed. And you've seen in the game against the Cowboys the other night when he hit Matty Bowen. He walked up after the game and made sure he was all right. So he's already changed. But as far as knocking back an Australian jersey, I don't know. It sets a bad precedent, I think.
Really? So no? So no, you want Danny playing?
I want Danny playing. I mean, Brett Lee's in the same situation as the cricketer. His wife's due in, I think, January. And he's concentrated all his attention to the Ashes, and I think Danny Buderus maybe should do the same we need him.
Matty,
can I say that? Look, my reaction is, I don't know
how many times Denny's played for Australia. I think it might have been 15 to 20 times. But sometimes you only, it's a child. You can't miss it. To put it into perspective, I remember we won the 97 grand final. It was just so emotive and everything that happened. And to that date, it was probably the greatest day of my life. But 2 weeks later, when my son was born, I said, that beats it. You know, all the cliche.
Didn't you?
I did, absolutely. And it beats it. And Danny's
what would have happened if the young bloke was due the day before the grand final? Would you have walked out of camp?
Too hard.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean.
Yes. Okay.
You would not have. You'd have played the grand final if Trish was due on grand final day. Would you have said, "Hey boys, I've got to get rid of the grand final"? You wouldn't have. You would have.
Look, what I would have done, I would have been there. I would have organised a Lear jet.
All right, and then Gus on the Danny Buderus situation. I think this is one we've talked about before. What would you do?
Danny Buderus can do whatever he likes. He's earned the right to do whatever he likes, and I would imagine because he's had so much Test football in the past that this is an easy decision for him to make. If it was his first Test jersey, would his opinion be different? I think it would be, and I think it would be for most of us. But he's earned the right to take the time off, and we've got plenty of other blokes who can play in that position.
If you're hypothetical, I don't want to get down a wrong road totally. What if the coach, if we lip-read as they took the cutaway of the coach and he was saying that touch judge is a...
that'll come.
Boom. Would there be a charge?
Well, I don't know if there would be. I mean, go back to the Andrew Johnson thing. It's been a total farce this week, what's happened to that bloke and the way they've...
You're itching to go on this one, aren't you? This was segment 3 of the show.
Absolute total farce what has happened this week. There's so many people failed, including Andrew Johns, but there's been so many people failed in this exercise. But swearing in sport is something you could talk for 2 hours about. And swearing... You go and sit on the hill at a game and listen to what the public are doing, the general rugby league supporter. Swearing is the most overrated offence I've ever heard in my life.
Well, we're going to attack it, Gus. Please, just keep your powder dry. We've had email meltdown and letter meltdown this week on this topic. And just sit back and admire it for 28 minutes.
1998, Tony Butterfield. In a game.
I remember it.
He said the referee said to him, mate, you can't push in the scrum. Butt said, can't push in a scrum, and that's it. That's the first time since 98 I've seen a scrum get
Tony
pushed
Butterfield, the true story, when he used to play, he was from that old style, those old front rowers used to get in there and fight for the loose head. Until his last days, playing against rookie front rowers, he fought for the loose head, head-butted them every time. He was the biggest pain in the, I don't want to swear, biggest pain in the what for those young players, but it was good stuff.
Yeah.
We started the show talking about Danny Buderus. Now we have to talk about something on the field. Danny Buderus last night, a high tackle on Matty Bowen. Newcastle already without Andrew Johns. Danny Buderus, does he have any strife here? MG?
No. One word, no.
Definitely gets him.
Yeah, but there was no. It was just an enthusiastic tackle. It wasn't a dangerous tackle. I don't think it was. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's a two-pointed question, no, really, because I'm saying, do you think he will get cited? Not necessarily your personal opinion. Do you think he'll get charged?
Well,
this is the apologies he did.
Yeah, he apologised. He apologised at the time. In his defence, if you go to some moments later on in that game, he actually does an identical chase and an identical tackle, this time grabbing him on the shoulder as he intended to do. I think it was totally accidental. He hit him in the chin, and the fact that he's gone and apologised twice will stand him in good stead.
But a player drunk in public, I got no drama with. I mean, if he's at the pub, if he does nothing wrong, there should be no problem. We were at Newcastle last Friday week and we looked at all the sponsorship on the ground, and it's a beer sponsor on the field, it's alcoholic beverage sponsor on the fence, it's Blue Tongue there, all around the ground. Matt Dunning in rugby union got fined $3,000 for they said inappropriately.
Breaking a car.
He was fined for being inappropriately drunk in a public place. Now that is, is that an offence?
I mean, look at last week, the example of what's been going on. At the moment, everyone's crazy with this rugby league, thing where players get into trouble, and it's just huge news. And it just gets blown out of proportion. Last week, we had a situation where terrorists, blokes who were going to carry liquid explosives onto a plane. But on a Friday night, Andrew Johns swears at a touch judge, automatically he becomes public enemy number one. I mean, let's put it into perspective. I mean, fair dink.
We're going to rip right into the Andrew Johns debate after this break. It is all your emails, all your letters, all your questions asked of the panel. Welcome back to the Sunday Roast. AFL coming up. It is Brisbane against the West Coast this afternoon. And then from 4 o'clock, we're off to Oakey Jubilee for the NRL. The Dragons looking to return to form when they take on the West Tigers. Well, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we've had email meltdown this week. The reaction to the Andrew Johns incident from last Friday week and then subsequently everything that happened at the Judiciary this week, the newspaper articles. We've tried to sort of put it all into one batch of questions, all your queries, and we're going to grill the panel right now, kicking off with what happened last week. And one of the sort of threads that came through a lot was respect for touch judges, and Gus has already touched on it. But I ask you as recently retired players, MG and Matty, do you think players have any degree of respect for sideline officials, touch judges, or have any respect for their contribution to a game? An honest answer to that one.
No, I don't. For the simple reason what Gus alluded to before. They're portrayed as blokes who have never played the game, and they're portrayed as blokes who just come in, especially to get themselves on TV. That's got to change. The mindset's got to change for the refereeing standards to be picked up. We've got to change our perception towards referees, and I don't know how we do it.
Working with the batch that we have, Matty, what could we do to increase the respect for the touch judges?
Well, I think it's up to the touch judges. You know, it's something you can't come out and say you have to respect me or you must respect this. You have to earn respect, and I think situations like, hey sir, didn't you sir that? Wake up to yourself. Hey, listen, get on with the game and tuck your head in. You don't think it's to worry about. That gets respect.
All right, you've come under the grill this week from a lot of our viewers on the program, a lot of fans of the game, and it's because of your defence of your brother.
Yes.
That publicly you come out and you constantly stick up for him, and I think people can appreciate that point, but people are now going over the top saying, no, you just do it. You just will not see wrong with Andrew Johns. Are you able to say on the program today that privately, do you rip into him?
Look, my philosophy is this, Vossy, right? With family, with close friends and people I really believe in, what I do is publicly I praise them, and I don't defend them over the top, but if I've got something negative to say to them, I say that to them in private. Do I say stuff to Andrew privately? Yes, I do, because I'm his older brother.
All right.
I do that, yes.
Bring you in on this one, Gus. If Andrew Johns had have come out in his newspaper column last Sunday and apologised unreservedly, do you think he would have been charged and suspended?
Absolutely not. The whole thing. He never got charged for what he did on Friday night. He got charged for the aftermath, and they went after him for it.
Big time.
No doubt about that.
Big time.
And they were calling for the vision on Monday. The Sunday column was the thing, and I can't believe he was allowed to write it. It was written after the game when he's still in that emotional state. Great scoop for the Sunday Telegraph. He's their man. Whether or not they've done the right thing by their man, I don't know.
No.
Whether or not the News Limited owned paper has done the right thing by the game. The NRL wants to give out the story that it's the game's image that has to be protected. Therefore, you would think the owners of the game play a part in that as well. And whether or not they've got to protect their man, Andrew Johns. It's a great story for them, and as a newspaper, you can't blame them for it. But had there been no story on the Sunday, had there been a simple worded apology Saturday morning, which is what his manager John Fordham should have looked after, had there been a simple apology, this matter goes away and it's all over.
We thank everyone for their response, but I want to single out one email from Emily. She stated her case on heat of the battle being a defence, and it's not just applies to the Andrew Johns situation, but in any other profession or indeed any other sport, schoolyard or public forum, the heat of battle would not rate as an excuse. If you maintain your argument that in the heat of battle, the conduct of Andrew Johns or others who behave as he did should be condoned, why then are Paul Simpkins, his linesmen and match officials not justified in swearing or retaliating in the face of such abuse? So Emily makes the point that, the referees know not to do it.
Yeah, but the referees don't
We know not to do it when we come on this show. We get heated about arguments and may disagree. Off air, we may swear at each other during an argument. Once we come on air, we know not to say it.
You know what?
Is that an excuse in a battle?
We're not getting constantly tackled by 120 kilo front rowers or getting up and down, running. Like, your emotions boil over. The game of rugby league is the most physically challenging game in the world. And I can understand players boiling over, their emotions boiling over.
Now, obviously, we're pushed for time, but here's a very curly one from a number of people. Matty, what action should be taken against the next junior player who doesn't agree with a referee or touch judge's decision and delivers the same spray as Andrew Johns? It's a good question.
Send him to a referee school and make him get his ticket, maybe, and something like that. That's something positive you can do.
You know what happens to the kid? His mum and dad take him home and give him the rounds of the kitchen. He doesn't go out for a month or whatever it is. Look, we talk about attitudes of kids in junior football and in country football where they're abusing. What happens with undisciplined bullfeds in country football has got nothing to do with professional footballers, all right? Yeah. And the responsibility of kids and their attitudes to officialdom is the responsibility of their parents and their teachers and the people that bring them up. It is not the responsibility of the footballers in that regard to teach these kids what has to be done, all right? The parents can say, Andrew Johns has done the wrong thing.
Yes.
Don't you do that. Don't you ever speak back to a referee again, all right? That's how you educate kids. You know, you can't draw a line between what happens in the professional game, where they're playing for high stakes, and these people are playing on the edge of the seats in front of, you know, millions of viewers and everything's on the line, to what happens in the schoolyard or what happens in junior football. That is a responsibility of their junior coaches and their parents and their upbringing. Don't make players or personalities the responsibility for raising kids. They've got their own parents to do it.
What about subconsciously? For instance, you know, this weekend in football, young kids playing, all of a sudden, let's effing give it to this kid. You know, like they've heard the big fellas call it.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, they're hearing their heroes say it.
So what's their dad say? Dad goes and goes, there. Cut it out. You know, none more of it.
Again, thank you to everyone who came in. Look, we've only just scratched the surface. There were so many, hundreds and hundreds. Thank you, and we'll probably continue on because it is a broader issue, and abuse and swearing on the field, and we'll continue to discuss it. But we need to take a break on the Sunday roast because coming up is the Mixed Grill. This is the Mixed Grill part of the program, but Gavin, you've gone too far. That's grade 5 for mine. Grade 5 something. I'll charge him with. Last night we saw Danny Gallier playing for the Panthers have a little bit of trouble with a play the ball, MG, the old jumper over the head trick.
Yeah, Danny Gallier had a great season this year, but as we'll see in a second, it can be done. Danny Gallier should learn this lesson from one of the pros. The pro is?
Greg Florimo. That's right.
The flow. Look at this. Even here, he gets Adam Brown, I think, picks him up by the jersey. Pickaboo, where are you? Look, you dummies. Hey, gotcha.
Very good.
Flo, good man. He's still the boss of the North Sydney Bears, and he's doing a great job.
Now,
good bloke.
Good thing that you mentioned that, because North's have got a big night coming up next Saturday night. Is their team of the century, and you can get along to North Sydney Leagues next Saturday night. Going to announce their team of the century. If you want tickets, there's the number right there, 9466 8888. A big function at the Bears. The Bears spirit lives on. But talking about balls, play the balls, drama. Brett Grogan, an old mate of yours.
A great old mate of mine, Dropper Grogan. I remember back in 1999 and Dropper, we were playing St George, and this was an old party trick. He perfected this, and the kids absolutely loved it. I'd say the NRL could do a lot worse than this be the halftime entertainment at the grand final this year. Look at Dropper, just pulls it out. Brad Godden, a dummy half, fires it to Jamie Ainscough, who utilised the chip and chase.
So you're suggesting to slow the play the ball down deliberately rather than get cramp, hide the ball in your own jumper.
Am I being crazy?
Yes.
Am I a buffoon, Gus?
Now, Matty, you got a big announcement before we go to a break?
Yeah, boys, look, it's been a great show today. We've got through so much. I'm a little bit weary, I've got to say. So today I'm going to give a young rookie a chance. I'm going to step off set. Great show, Gus. MG, great show. Watched the footy this afternoon. Well done, Vossy. I'm going to give Wes a chance over in the corner there. We have a shot at him.
Thank you, Matty.
And, boys, have a good one. And for the last segment, our great friend Wes here is going to take over. So, boys, all the very best.
Okay.
I just go up and see Carl and they go for a go. Hey, Carl, how are you, mate? No, the show's...
We'll take a break on the Sunday.
Show's going great.
Back with more in just a moment.
Hey, thanks, Timmy. Now, listen, this is my first go on this show, and I reckon I'm a good customer.
So that's the best he's got, eh?
Wes, come on,
It's
mate.
been such a good program, such a fiery program, and then Wes goes all quiet on us. Gus, have you ever worked with such a talent?
I've worked with a few like that, yeah.
Quick tip, Dragons. Oh, you're tipping Dragons this afternoon.
Yeah, I hope
You think they'll bounce back? Dragons to bounce back?
Don't know. Maybe.
Wonderful end of the show. We've sort of petered to the line. We've got there. Thank you, Wes. Thanks for your time, buddy.
No, he's got
Thanks,
nothing
Gus.
anymore. Yeah.
Thanks, MG. We'll be back with a Sunday roast next week. Thanks for your company. Get the emails in, thesundayroast@9.com.au. See you next week.
The Knights overturned another recent trend too, winning without Andrew Johns in Townsville.
He's kicked it, and that is the game.
We just knew he wasn't going to be playing, and we got over it and got on with it.
Joey's replacement Jarrod Mullen the star after 12 pain-killing injections for a sternum injury.
As Jarrod Mullen gets between Jacob Lillyman and Justin Smith to score.
Hooker Danny Buderus on report for this high shot on Matt Bowen.
I was a bit disappointed I got penalised, to be brutally honest.
He's told selectors not to pick him for the end-of-season Tri-Nation series, his fiancée expecting their first child.
To the table, and Manly's win leaves it in outright third. The Dragons and the Eels right in the mix for a place in the top four. Penrith now the only team with a mathematical chance of moving into the 8. The Panthers need to win their last 2 matches and hope another side slips up.
The Andrew Johns swearing incident dominated rugby league headlines all week. After his Sunday newspaper column, Johns stated he wouldn't apologise for abusing touch judge Matt Chetkin, but he did exactly that to try and decrease his ban. And it appeared to work. His ban reduced to just 2 weeks, freeing him to play in the finals. While Johns was reported as saying he was sorry and needs to pull his head in, he was seen as being almost bigger than the game.
Can I just go through the litany of mistakes that were made in this situation? Andrew Johns making the mistake of actually giving it to the touch judge in the first place and then repeating it on the field,
the first mistake was Checken making the mistake.
OK, but it's...
Which,
touch
as
judges,
we said earlier, doesn't justify.
Touch judges make errors all the time. OK, if you want to go sequentially. Then Andrew Johns, next thing, Michael Hagan, the coach, he refuses to carpet Andrew Johns. He actually quasi supports him.
Entitled.
Says he was entitled to do it. Big mistake.
But hang on, if you were the manager of the Beatles, would you say, Lennon and McCartney, yeah, come here, you well, would you drop them?
We're not all as rich as you because he copped $5,000 for the club as a fine, so big mistake for a start. Next thing was, Andrew Johns comes out in the weekend newspaper, writes a column that says he should be apologising to me. Big mistake. Next thing is his manager comes out and says, if you don't be nice to Andrew, he might go to England. That sounds like a threat. Big mistake. Just a litany.
But then he stopped making mistakes. He went to the tribunal. He apologised. He wrote a letter to Matt Chechen, and his suspension was downgraded from 4 weeks to 2 weeks. And everyone seems to want to say either he shouldn't have been charged at all, or he should have been put out for the season. I think actually they got the right result.
Bearing in mind, not only wouldn't he apologise on the Sunday, he said he should be apologised to. Did you feel his apology was genuine on the night he fronted up?
I did, and what's more, it would have been a huge call if you were one of those 3 former footballers on the tribunal to say, I don't believe you. And effectively, by leaving the 4-match suspension there, that's what they would have been doing. And I certainly, if I'd have been sitting on the judiciary, I wouldn't have done that. But it's not a swearing controversy, it's an abuse of a touch judge.
Hold on, you've got to go. When you say big mistake, obviously Johns' initial thing was a colossal error given what subsequently transpired. But, you know, the outcome, after all, he only got 2 weeks. So somebody must have been doing something right, well, in terms of limiting what should have been a 4-week ban.
Well, no. You know who did that? The public came out and said 4 weeks is too long for the bloke. We think it's worth 2. But
it was originally going to be 3, but because he chose to challenge it, he risked 4.
Yeah. So. What bugged me was, and your newspaper has someone very senior on your newspaper.
Name them and shame them.
And
Sydney
my newspaper has the same issue with people saying this is about swearing. This is not about swearing.
Oh, it's a bit about swearing.
No, it's not. It's about abusing an official.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not about swearing.
How do you abuse the official? By saying, you silly teddy bear,
cheat.
There would be no issue.
I agree. Is abusing an official without swearing.
I think it was the choice of language, one word in particular, which people find gross.
Yeah, but he used it 2 weeks earlier and there was no action against him.
Because if you just swear, they'll let you off. They never get anyone for just using abusive language.
Hang on.
But if you swear,
just answer the question. Answer the question. Had he said to the official, you silly teddy bear, would there have been a problem? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you,
but that wouldn't be considered the same level of abuse.
If you write that on a bit of paper and say, is that abuse?
Okay, well, let's say this. Okay, now hold on. You stupid idiot, you've got it wrong. How much of an issue would it have been?
Perhaps we should give the last word on this subject to one of our regular panellists, Mike Colman. This is what Mike had to offer on Main Game last week.
Does the NRL honestly believe we're going to turn into a nation of serial swearers just because Joey Johns dropped the odd black word or two? Being unbelievable. They must think we're all a bunch of just because Joey calls someone a doesn't mean every other will. For sake, they should get this into perspective. Joey Johns is the greatest footballer in the history of the world. If he wants to call a touch judge a that's his business. Hell, I've even been known to do it myself every now and again, but only when it's absolutely necessary. Like when I hit my thumb with a hammer, or a touch judge misses a knock on when it's right in front of his nose. If anyone should be apologising to anyone, it should be that touch judge apologising to Joey. Look, Joey is a role model, and the last thing we want happening to our role models is people telling them how to behave in public.
I'll ask the question for you, Fitzy. Why can't he be that funny when he's on this show?
Does he get paid twice now?
No.
Intellectual copyright.
Brian Carney, can we help him out? Is this...
Well, Brian Carney. Now, look later on after the break, I believe we're going to do a little bit with Brian Carney. He's got a perfect match. We've got 3 lovely ladies that come in. They're dying to meet up with Brian, and also, mate, we've called for entries in, and we've had some absolutely brilliant VTR shots coming, and let's have a look at some of them.
I've actually already been on a date with Brian before, and can I just say, what a stud. Brian, what are you looking at?
That was a great entry. Unfortunately, she did make the final, but the three girls are out there. They're warming up, and Brian's very nervous. I can hear wedding bells, Fat.
I've seen the three girls. I'll tell you what, hubba hubba, here they come. Oh, please. Any one of the three would do me. All right,
Cream, coaching a team, like a dog in a bone, I call Newcastle's home, like banging a horse, a pie with sauce. What do you got? You got Carney's catch. Oh, what do you got? You got Carney's catch.
Yeah, welcome to Carney's Catch, and ladies and gentlemen, the man on my left, Mr. Brian Carney. Well, mate, tonight's the big night, the one you've been dreaming of for a while. How you feeling?
Yeah, very nervous, but excited.
Your expectations on tonight?
Big chest, long legs.
OK. Hopefully we found you the right man. OK, now, introducing the ladies. Put your hands together. Well, how are you, girls? You well? A little bit nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
OK, I'll introduce the girls to you. OK, now contestant number one is a remedial masseuse from Miranda. Her interests include socialising, going to the beach and generally causing mayhem. Celebrating her 30th birthdays, please welcome Tatiana Laveau. Happy birthday, Tatiana.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Good luck tonight.
Thank
now,
you.
contestant number two is a 23-year-old stockbroker from Paddington. She likes long walks along the beach, reading poetry, and prays every night for world peace. Please welcome Miss Jill Green. How are you, Jill? You good?
Wow, happy.
So, you ever been to Ireland?
I have.
Yeah, a lot of girls have. So, there he is there. Now, contestant number three is a 24-year-old IT worker who hails from Manly. Go the Seagulls. An avid sports watcher who enjoys socialising, bungee jumping, skydiving, and God lover, loves a schooner of lager. Put your hands together for Candy Maker. Now, what's your schooner of choice?
Carlton.
Carlton, there you go. VB girl, love it. Okay, right. Now, girls, of course, you have reached the final stage because you sent in a beautiful poem, and I'm going to ask each of you to recite that poem, starting with you, Tatiana.
Okay, well, I actually didn't send in a poem, Matt. I actually made a song, so I need you all to help me with it because it's a time warp, so I need you to clap along. It's all about Brian.
Okay. You want to kick us off?
Yeah.
It's just a...
It's just a step to the left, and then a flick to the right. Catch the ball on the fly, and break defenders' lines with his Irish charm. He drives the women insane. Carney's the hero, yeah. Carney's the hero, yeah.
Well done. Did you write that yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very good. Now, Jill, contestant number two, your poem?
He hails from a spot in the Emerald Isles, has a jaunty side step and a raft of smiles. You can bring me to the opera, but I'd be happy with Shadi so long as you tee me up with a date with the gorgeous Charney.
He's getting very frisky. Okay, Candy, your poem.
Pardon?
Yeah, your poem.
Oh, sorry. Okay. A divine sense of humour, a great set of pecs, more suave than Bond, more handsome than Bex.
Oh, very good. Okay, let's get to the business end there. Now, Brian, I want you to ask the ladies a question, starting with contestant number one.
Right, contestant number one. I didn't write these. As you know, I'm an Irish knight in shiny armour. What's your idea of a perfect first date and does it include sex?
Okay, well, being a am a sir, it's all about me making you feel good, Brian. So I'd have to peel that armour from your body and let my hands work their magic.
Contestant number 2.
Okay, well, after seeing you win man of the match, whisk you away on a boat, private beach, lunch, swimming, and of course we don't want your armour to get rusty, so skinny dipping?
Oh. You may as well go home. Brian's not into skinny dipping. Okay. Contestant number 3.
Okay,
Candy.
well, mine's not as sexual as theirs, but perfect. Honestly, mine's lunch at the pub.
Might take it down to the stain, Brian. Brian, you want to pick?
It'll be a short night. Yeah, very good answers. I like the sound of number 3. I like
There we go, number 3. Now, Brian, for your second question, a contestant number 2.
Contestant number 2. Back in Ireland, I was into dirt bike riding. What would you say if I left my skid marks in your garden?
Well, I don't have a garden, so that won't be a problem.
Okay, number 3.
Well, if you're going to skid in my garden, don't damage my flowers.
Very good. Tatiana?
Well, it's only fair, Brian, if you leave skid marks in my garden, I get to run riot in yours.
Well, there you go, Brian.
I like a woman that likes skid marks. Yeah, I like the sound of number 1's answer there.
Number 1. Okay. And Brian, finally, your third question at number 3.
Like all Irishmen, I like a drink, but I'm no good at it. If I was a Guinness, what would you do to me?
Okay, I won't beat around the bush. If you're a pint of Guinness, I'd swallow you.
Mate, if Brian doesn't take it, his bloke will, okay, Tatiana.
Well, with a pint of Guinness, it's creamy and smooth, so I'd probably lick the cream from my lips and let the liquid slide down my throat.
Okay, Jill, good luck.
I'd start at the top, work my down slow, and gargle what's left.
Well, Brian?
Massive fan of gargling. Number 2's answer.
Number 2. Okay, Brian, you've got a very difficult decision. You've given a point to each of the girls, so 1-1-1. Now, we're going to give you 15 seconds, a bit of mood music, and you've got a tough decision to make, my friend. Okay, Brian.
The old bloke behind you reckons number 4, so... I think Matthew, I'll run with number 2.
Number 2 it is. Now, Brian, we're going to introduce you to the girls you didn't select, so just stay behind the screen.
Yeah.
First of all, Tatiana. Tatiana, come around and meet Brian.
How are you doing? Thanks.
Okay, contestant number 3. Brian, this is Candy.
How you doing? Nice things. How you doing?
Okay, Jill, here comes the big moment. Okay, Brian Carney, meet Miss Jill Green. put your arm around you, poof.
Yeah,
What about this? Did you feel the chemistry, everybody?
Bit of paper tomorrow.
Now, listen, guys, you've won the date, Jill, and we're going to send you, we're going to find out next week, we're going to send you to a beautiful restaurant, maybe even a weekend away, Port Moresby or something like that. And but we promise it will be very romantic. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the lovely couple. How are you, pal? You excited?
Yeah, good choice. Yeah, beautiful ladies, but good choice.
Yeah, they were all beautiful ladies. Now, if your Father's Day around the corner, if you want to go out and get something good for the old man, the 2005 Best of DVD, the Footy Show, some good stuff in there. This, that and the other, Craig McLaughlin, a bit of stand-up there. And also the Daredevil dudes. And here's some of the action from Daredevil over the years.
Drugs are back in the headlines. In fact, I was thinking of setting the alarm for 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, getting up and cruising the streets looking for drug testers. And another old chestnut reared its head during the week. Should painkillers be considered as performance-enhancing drugs? This follows Knights rookie Jarrod Mullen having 12 injections to play last Saturday night against the Cowboys. Some will tell you that's a badge of honour for the 19-year-old, to get 6 needles in a sternum injury before the match and another 6 during. But I don't know whether it's such a good look at the game, and I reckon it's one that the fans of the game will decide.
OK, the Knights defeated the Panthers 40 points to 4, so this is eradicating the question of can they win without Joey. I mean, they can now.
Can.
Yeah, they
absolutely
can.
Interestingly, they haven't had a back-to-back win for 2 years without Joey, so that's a really confident sign going into the semi-finals.
And that's the thing that I was going to ask you about. When they're moving through the final, because you look for sleepers, don't you? And they're not essentially a sleeper, but they're a very dangerous team in the finals.
Absolutely.
The timing of the bye, though, Jace, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad time. I think it's a bad time.
Yep.
I mean, a couple of weeks before the semis, a bye is quite a good refresher. The last week of the rounds, not a good refresher because, you need that battle-hardened focus going into it. But then again, you've got a bloke like Andrew Johns who can just turn a game around, so...
All right, a team that did drop out of it completely last night is the Penrith Panthers. They scored first against the Knights. The Knights, in the end, they winning 40 points to 4. But a great start to the Panthers. You never know what you've got when the Panthers turn up.
No, but I was very impressed with the Newcastle side last night. Young Mullen, again, was very, very good in the 7 jersey. Matt Gidley, maybe not his last home game at Energy Australia, but it could have been, and he got 2 tries and is capping an outstanding season. He's really going away with...
An outstanding career at Newcastle.
Yeah, he's been one of them.
And he looks physically fitter than I've seen him over the last couple of years. He looks sharper. That try he scored the first one there, he wouldn't have scored that last year.
I was talking to some of the Newcastle players during the week, and it's the first time in a couple of seasons that he actually is injury-free. So, that's probably... I thought he'd plateaued out, but this year he's gone to that next level. And this was a very, very good performance on a couple of fronts. The front rowers are great at the moment for Newcastle. I think Perry, Woolno, DeVico is back. Craig Smith will be back when Andrew Johns comes back.
Well, you looked at the bench last night and the players sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Joey Johns and Craig Smith and the like.
And the thing about... We talked about Luke Williamson at the Sea-Eagles and Desi Hazard, but Michael Hagan's got a similar tough decision too with Jarrod Mullen, Andrew Johns and Kurt Gidley. Yeah. What do you do with Kurt Gidley? Because Michael Hagan's been one of those coaches that has been having 4 forwards on the bench. So 2 into 3.
Look, this young man here, the number 7, they went 11 games in a row not winning without Andrew Johns. Now they've won 2 in a row. And the way that he is so comfortable there and takes pressure off Andrew Johns, especially last tackle, like the last tackle play, is so important. He's your best kicker outside of Andrew Johns. Kurt Gidley is their best chaser on kick chase. I don't know if he could drop Mullen, and I don't know where he would find a spot for Gidley. Maybe on the bench, maybe back row somewhere.
Or maybe fullback. Milton Friday out injured.
They tried him there earlier, it didn't work.
Their back row's in form too. Steve Simpson, Clint Newton. Playing great football the last few weeks. So it's all looking good for Newcastle and Andrew Johns to come back into that side. Jarrod Mullen, incidentally, is the son of Steve Mullen, Pete, and we played against Steve plenty of times. He was a battling back rower for the Canterbury side in the early 80s. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah, played 20 NRL games, 15 in 1982. And when you can make the Canterbury forward pack in the early 80s,
absolutely,
you can look back and say, well, I did okay.
So he'd be a proud dad watching his son, Jarrod, go around.
Newcastle, Matt Gidley crossed for a double as the Knights ended Penrith's season.
Matt Gidley!
They've now got the bye. Their next game a semi-final with Andrew Johns back on board.
We're going into a semi-final campaign with tremendous form and confidence and a pretty fit football team.
Let's put the spotlight on the NRL table, and the Broncos are looking sweet for that top 4 place. The Eels dropped to 7th and will be on the road week 1 of the finals. The Warriors climbed to 9th. Now, you can imagine they'd be in 8th if it wasn't for that 4-point deduction for breaching the salary cap.
Newcastle coach Michael Hagan believes the Knights are perfectly positioned for a run at the title after a 40-point demolition of Penrith.
We're going into a semi-final campaign with tremendous form and confidence and a pretty fit football team.
With Johns sidelined, his understudy Jarrod Mullen was again a standout for the Knights.
He scores the Knights' 6th try.
This next one has been shown a fair bit on the TV since the weekend, but we've been inundated with... now, look, Michael Roberts, the bottom line here is that both twins fall out the hammock and the Kranksky. If you have a close look, it's one of those things that happen. There it is. Didn't want to show it. It could be something doing there.
3
but,
legs.
You're not bad, Mike. Goes okay.
Tripod.
It's the Cheer Girl Challenge. It's back on, and we've got 3 brand new teams tonight. Of course, we had some great ones last week. And, Chief, this competition just goes from strength to strength, champ.
It does, and there's some great prizes
Coles
too.
Meyer involved.
Coles Meyer, $20,000 gift voucher to the winner. But all the teams, they go away empty-handed. They get a $1,000 voucher as well. But the main thing, Fat, is remember, is that you can have an input on who wins. So if you all got your team in tonight, make sure you get in and vote. Give you all the details a little bit later on.
Let's have a look at the leaderboard so far. We've been going for 3 weeks now. The Roosters on top. The Sharks are outstanding last week. The Broncos, Dragons, and, of course, all the other ones there. It's not just the judges. Of course, you get a chance to vote as well. We've got 5 heats. The top 4 go through to the semis, and, of course, the winners, what is it, $20,000?
$20,000. It's getting exciting now. It's pumping up.
All right, we've got some special guest judges again tonight. He's been with us since day one. Alex Zabotto-Bentley. Welcome, Alex. One of the sexiest women in the world, Bessie Bardot. One of the sexiest men in the world, City Dance Company choreographer, Michael Boyd. G'day, Michael. And probably the greatest sort of all time, male-wise, Jake Wall. G'day, Jake. Hey, champ. And, of course, mate, well done Tuesday night. Thanks, of course, mate. If you don't know it, Jake won Dancing on Ice. How good is that? There he is on the night, just absolutely carving it up. Was it a great experience for you, Jake?
It was, mate. It was awesome. I can't believe it is over. I can't believe I won. Just seeing that footage just then, I can't believe it looked like that.
Just on the night, were you confident you thought you'd won over Carl?
I didn't. I thought Stefan Abic would have got me, actually,
Yeah?
with all his, his popularity is pretty high, so I was a bit worried.
We all know that you are going out with Miss Newcastle, Miss Universe, Jenny Hawkins. Mate, back in the cheerleading days, that's when you first met her. Tell us how you met. Here she is there, look at her. The glory days of Newcastle. Oh. Miss Jenny H. But how did you guys meet?
I met her in a bar, actually, and, I think I can safely say that Miss Universe hit on me.
She hunt you down. Well, there you
She
go.
come
What a
up and
rap
hit
that
on
is.
me, mate, so,
Fantastic. And, of course, she's been on the show before. She beat you. We had her on.
Yeah, she's on a couple of years ago, mate. She's a dead set star. She was fantastic.
There
of course,
she
this
is.
after her...
You got a kiss, Fatty.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? That was after the costume malfunction too, Fat.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Very, very
Of
good.
course.
I love that footage. It's fantastic. Now, of course, let's go. You ready to go, judges?
Yeah.
All right, first up, we have got the Knights Cheer Girls doing Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Y'all ready to get funky? Come on. Well, let's do it then. All right.
When the lights down, it's a stage time. Here we are now. Entertain us. Like a stupid. Like a stranger. Here we are now. Entertain us. Everybody dance now.
Very good. Very good.
Well.
And very vocal there, Chief. The girls were whooping it up.
You guys were dynamic. You were sharp. Were you happy with that?
Absolutely, it was awesome.
Nailed it.
Now listen,
Nailed
obviously this is a big thing. How long have you been working towards this dance, and were you nervous before you started?
We've been working out ever since we found out, training morning and night till 11 o'clock at night. Not nervous at all.
Well, I think you've nailed it, Fat. Take it away, the judges. I expect something half decent here.
Okay. In my mind, cheering's really about three things. You have to cheer, which you did. You have to do some aerial, which you did, and you've got to hit the deck at the end of it. You did all of them. I went away for 1 week and I came back and you girls are rocking.
Alrighty.
I give you a crooked 8.
That's an 8.
Well done.
Oh, I'll tell you, I was expecting a 12 the way you were talking them up, but you're popping 8. Bessie?
Impressive, you know, really fast moves. You guys made the Energizer Bunny look like it was on steroids or tranquilizers, something weird. You guys were incredible, very impressive. It's a bit of a strange one. I'm going to do some fractions tonight, but it's 7 3/4.
7 3/4, very solid. Good work, girls. Michael?
Yeah, no, I thought overall the energy was awesome, and the main sort of one I need to come back to is the technical level. There's some bits where some people are uneven, and that's something that I just sort of think that you need to just like be strict on everyone sort of getting to the same level of skill, or whether it's a kick, and things like in your lines, just make sure the lines are tight. That's one thing that you just drill and drill and drill. But yeah, the energy was great, and yeah, awesome. I think these guys would drill you.
And your score, champ, would be a...
oh yes, there you go.
That's 7, well done. That's got there. Got there in the end.
The balance.
Jake, what did you think, champ?
I thought it was great, girls. And I think Jen would kill me if I didn't give you a 10.
Yeah! That's 10. All right, girls, thank you very much.
Well done.
That's a pretty good score.
That's good.
Jake's just gone off early, I'll tell you. He's given it 10.
Please forgive me, I do have Steve Irwin on my mind. Tim Webster joins us now with sport. You had a pretty interesting encounter with Steve Irwin several years ago at the Logies.
It wasn't exactly on your mind. No, it wasn't. It was on the inside of the leg. But it's surreal, isn't it? It really is. It's very hard to come to terms with, yeah.
Now, let's get back to sports issues. You alluded to earlier a breaking story about Andrew Johns not going to be captain as we move into the finals.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to be, Sandra. In fact, no, as soon as they get on the field for the finals, Joey will be handing over the duties to Steve Simpson more shortly. As the finals captains square off, why the Eels say it isn't too risky to play their injured skipper Nathan Kalis. Night skipper Andrew Johns has made the shock decision to leave all dealings with the referee, including the coin toss to teammate Steve Simpson. Just back from a 2-match ban for abusing a touch judge, Johns wants to take the pressure off during the finals.
After a season marred by blow-ups with on-field officials, Johns using today's NRL captain's call to say he's moving away from potential confrontation.
It's just about spreading, I suppose, the leadership and getting the pressure off me. So if any questions are going to be asked the referee, I think Steve Simpson's going to be going up.
Johns returning to the scene of his most infamous clash this Friday night, and again the opposition is Manly. Ben Kennedy back for the Eagles and wanting to see an even bigger Joey blow-up.
I hope so. I hope he gets sent off.
My earthly neighbour Ken with Sport Next, and Andrew Johns springs a surprise for the final series.
Yes, Michael, because he wants to stay out of trouble. Also a get-together for the captains in the final series. Hoping to avoid any more trouble with game officials, Andrew Johns says Steve Simpson will handle most of the captaincy role in Friday night's first final against Manly. The Night Star is returning from suspension after swearing at a touch judge in round 23.
The next time any of these captains lead their teams out, the mood will be far more serious. But today all the finals contenders relaxed in the sun at Aussie Stadium. As for the team to beat, Melbourne remains the popular pick.
For a team to only lose 4 games in a premiership season, not too many of them wouldn't have gone all the way.
Andrew Johns' captaincy decision was the surprise. He says he's learnt his lesson after blowing his lid a couple of times this year. And he's not taking any chances, just in case.
He's been doing his penance and saying his prayers and promising he won't swear again too, I heard, but...
While Johns is ready to make his mark, so is Ben Kennedy. The Manly captain returns from injury in Friday night's big game, and he's already stirring up Joey.
I wouldn't mind him mouthing off a bit to the ref and getting sent off. But apart from that, nah, look, mate.
Parramatta is given little chance against Melbourne on Sunday, and that suits the Eels. Nathan Kalis is making an unexpected return from a fractured eye socket, and that can't hurt their chances.
that's all I can do. I can be reassured by the specialists, and I get paid to play footy, so that's what I want to do this weekend.
The Broncos will start favourites against the Dragons, but they haven't beaten them this year. Provided there aren't any upsets, both can survive a loss this weekend. But try telling them that.
And we're going up there with the attitude thinking that if we don't win, this is it.
The finals are a minefield.
The team that can hold its nerve and is the best defensive team will win the competition.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Time for sport now with Matthew White and Andrew Johns keeping quiet for the referee.
Smart fella, isn't he, Roscoe? He's learned his lesson. The bottom line is he doesn't want to be the centre of attention. Coming up, the top 8 captains square off as Joey outlines his plan for the finals. Newcastle coach Michael Hagan has revealed Andrew Johns had to be talked out of quitting as captain heading into the finals. Johns will still lead the Knights out against Manly on Friday night, but says he won't be speaking to the referee.
He was among the 8 captains for the photos, but come the finals, Andrew Johns' actions will have to speak louder than his words. The Knights halfback has moved to ensure there's no repeat of the touch judge abuse that cost him a 2-week ban.
Yeah, they'll probably be a lot different. We're going to share the captaincy around this week, and Steve Simpson's going to do most of the on-field captaincy. It's just about spreading, I suppose, the leadership and getting the pressure off me.
Thousands of Knights fans today lined up for tickets for Newcastle's match against Manly, unaware Johns had to be talked out of quitting as captain altogether by coach Michael Hagan.
It's important that he's still seen as our senior player at training and in games, and I'm sure this will be a reasonable compromise.
If any questions are going to be asked the referee, I think Steve Simpson's going to be going up.
Minor Premiers Melbourne are clear-cut favourites with bookmakers to win the premiership, and the majority of captains here have told 7 News if their teams can't win the title, they also expect the Storm to strike.
And you can tell by the way, or by how far they won the minor premiership, by that they're the team to beat.
They've lost 4 games all year. There's not too many teams that have done that and not gone on to win the premiership.
Throw Greg Inglis in there, I think he's... I don't know, I watch him play and it just blows my mind how good he is.
Prop Nathan Kalis will lead the Eels against the Storm on Sunday after being cleared to return from a fractured eye socket.
I think Melbourne are the team to beat, but they might lose a bit of confidence after we beat them this weekend.
Patrick Mullahan, 7 News.
Winger of the Year. The nominations are Hazem El Masri, Eric Grove, Brian Carney, and Nathan Merritt. And the winner is Brian Carney from the Newcastle Knights.
It is try time for Brian Carney.
A man who's had a tremendous season for the Newcastle Knights, his first season in the NRL and the first Irishman to pick up a Dally M medal. It must be, or a winger of the year, sorry, but it must be a thrill to come out here and play in the Australian competition, and this must just justify your reason.
It is, Loz. It's a tremendous honour for me every week. I've only ever experienced it watching on television, as most people do back in England, and you're always in awe of the Australian competition, and to get the chance to come out and play with and against the best players in the world, it's been phenomenal.
What was the hardest thing to adjust coming from the English Super League into the NRL comp?
No girls know me over here.
Pretty good on that front? I'll tell you what, you are going okay at the moment, though. Yeah. You are going extremely well. If we can just get you to set who your partner is?
Katie.
Katie. Stand up, please, Katie. Stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie and Brian. They're an item.
There you go.
Any announcements?
Oh, no. I'll get dumped after tonight.
Well, congratulations. All the best in the big game on Friday night.
Thanks, Loz. Thanks very much. Thanks to everybody.
Cheers, mate.